The Black Fat Femme Podcast is a production of iHeartRadio and Dr. John Paul, LLC. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Black Fat Femme Podcast, where all the intersections of identity are celebrated. I am one of your hosts, John, also known as Dr. John Paul. And while I am enjoying this new season of Beyonce we are in, yes, I have put on my boots and my spurs as well. One thing you will not catch me doing is taking up horseback riding. Did you see that TikTok with that man who got bit by a horse?
Why do we get bit by animals these days? I was getting bit by an animal. By a horse? Do horses have teeth? I truly do not know. Do horses have teeth?
They do. They have big, like,
Oh,
they're like
yeah,
black
chompers.
wood. They do. And so word on the curb is that horses are not really supposed to bite. But if they're startled or if you run up on a horse and it's not familiar with you, it will. And so I guess in the video, the man is walking. I don't know where this takes place, but I know he's walking and the horse is like sort of behind a tree. And he walks past that horse. And baby, when I tell you that horse took a bite out of crime, it literally just said, like, his shirt, everying. So it's funny.
Horse,
so that is
Angie bitch
one
from
of
Louisiana. You don't want this.
Literally, that horse said, you literally, Jolene, you don't want no smoke, Jolene. That's literally what that horse said. That horse said, you don't know me, girl. Don't be just walking up on me.
Trash.
But anyway, how are you?
First Grand Rising and howdy, fam. It is Jordan, aka Cowboy Joho, and I am just getting all up for today's show because it really is something. It got me heated and hot, and I wish I had a story about some horse biting somebody, but I don't. Just cats. But I'm ready to adopt. I'm ready to adopt and live in my my country fantasy. I'm ready to be a country girl now. I'm ready to move on down to the south. Give me a bottle of whiskey. Give me a little twang. Give my little.
Lord,
my
Myrtle
little, my
Myrtle
guitar
Earple.
and harmonica. Okay, speaking of which, just really quickly, I had not know that Stevie Wonder played the harmonica on Jolene. I was like,
I don't think we all know. So I was trying to look at. So if you all don't know, I'm just going to give it away. This entire show is going to be connected and dedicated to Cowboy Carter. That is literally what the title of this episode is probably end up going to be. It's just going to be Cowboy Carter. And we are literally going to do a whole episode connected to that. But I was saying, I was going through, so I have a thing about, I love to read on the phone. Back in the heyday when folks used to actually do CDs, that was my favorite thing to do, was to sit and read through the lyrics and see who actually was connected to the like recordings. So I was trying to do it on Apple Music, and there was only maybe 2 or 3 songs that had the rights of the actual the credits. There were only a few credits. And so when she said that, I was like, oh, I wonder if she's doing that intentionally to be able to kind of like surprise people. Or maybe they just didn't submit it in time. I don't know.
So I think they're on Tidal. They're not on Apple Music. I know that. I don't know if they're on like YouTube Music or they're on Spotify. But I know, I believe I heard that they're on Tidal. But I know people were actually really mad about that because they were like, "Who has credits? No one knows what the credits are." And a lot of people have made a point about missing old school stuff for the credits. So good question. But I'm sure if you about the vinyl of it, it probably tells you on that. But it doesn't. It hasn't on Apple Music, and I think, from my understanding, from my understanding, that I heard that that's more of like an onus on the platform itself rather than the artist. But who's to say?
Right.
That's it here.
Yeah, I have the CD. Yeah, I know. I have the CD coming, so when my CD comes, I'll just read through it. Yeah.
That said, as we kick off this week, as we always do, we're gonna give Miss Tisha Campbell her flowers. I'm trying to think what's the Texas equivalent to flowers. We're gonna give. I have no idea. I'm just saying I'm gonna give. It's some like what is like the Texas flower? Wherever it is, we gonna give it to her with our studio here, Seggy. And before we spend our entire day talking about Cowboy Carter, we're gonna pull some inspiration from Miss Carter herself. Now, this album is all about making space for us in a place that has been gatekept for too long. So I wanna ask you, John,
Amen.
what is something you feel has gate kept us out of, but we're claiming our space in?
Mm,
I'll start, then I'll pass it to you. Something I'm thinking
mhm.
about a lot right now,
Okay.
really is a queer why do I sound like I actually am from the South for some reason? I don't know what's happening with my voice right now. Whew, whew, Lord Jesus in heaven. Um, Something that I think a lot about now is the queer sports leagues here in San Diego. Like there's softball, there's kickball, there's
Mhm.
soccer, there's volleyball, there's pickleball, and I'm sure there's more. And it's really
Yeah.
cool to see queer people take up so much space in sports like this. Not that queer and trans folks haven't been doing sports since sports began, but like for so long, sports acted as if it wasn't a place for queer and trans folks. But now we have people from around the world doing sports, right? From Robbie Rogers to CC Telfer,
Mhm.
like queer and trans athletes are taking up space in a field that has been we've been pushed out of for so long. And as for me, as a
Yeah.
BFF, like
Yeah.
doing queer sports in San Diego as a fat person, right? Especially because being fat, sports is most of them like, girl, if you fat, you can do a sport either. So doing these things and also doing things that just that also like aren't just what people think of us as, right? Like we all know the tropes around race
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
different sports. And so doing all kinds of sports that make us feel like our best selves is so fulfilling in building community and expressing joy and movement and participating in some healthy competition. So I feel like that's the space that
Yeah.
I feel like I'm claiming my space in is my love of sports in a way that I don't think I could love or that I had access to love or right to love because people told me you will never be sports. You will never be glamour sports. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
bitch, I am glamour sports. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I am glamorous, girl. Yeah, no, I get it. Kind of to your point. So it's a big thing. It's always so interesting to me when I find out that, some of the queer girls, specifically girls who look like me in terms of size, are like football slash basketball slash baseball girls. Cause I'm always like, wow, like it's so riddled with toxic masculinity that I think oftentimes folks don't want to engage it because
Mhm.
of that. So like I've said, I've always commended you for being that girl who's like, I'm gonna push my way through this sport and I'm going to not only find community in it, but I'm actually gonna find fun in it. I don't know how you do it, but I love, love, love that you do it. So for me, I will say that I think everything for me comes back to education and entertainment. I think there's been a big I've been thinking a lot about this idea, right? So, specifically, even thinking about how education and entertainment, even though they're like worlds apart, they still operate in
Mhm.
the very same way, right? They still have the people who are in positions of
Agreed.
power, who oftentimes control the money, control what access students, faculty, staff
Mhm.
have. Same thing in entertainment, right? You have the execs who are controlling where
Mhm.
money
Mhm.
goes, what shows get made, what shows don't get made, who gets to do what work, who doesn't, right? It's still very much the old boys club. And so I think for me, I love when I see black fat femmes, specifically folks who look like me or folks who like live and thrive like me, going into both of these spaces and saying, I am going to intentionally fuck up all of like I'm gonna fuck up the idea of what you believe I can and can't do, right? Having folks move up to be presidents, having folks move into positions where now they're controlling money. I have a couple of friends who are execs at some pretty decent places or some really big name places. And it's really cool to like watch them on social media talk about the stuff that they're green lighting or the stuff that they can
Mhm.
help with. But then there's also been times where I've had friends who are in these positions come back to me and say, hey, my hands are locked, just like every other black and brown person who's trying to move in this industry. Right. So there's that. But I think for me, I really love the folks who are, and I say this, what's the word I'm looking for? I say this globally. There are folks who, like us in a way, are saying, I'm not waiting for someone to give me the keys. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to build my own house. I'm going to take back the land that the world owes me. And that makes me happy. That makes me really happy. And especially like when you're saying, like, what this all comes down to, and again, what we're going to be getting into a little bit later is taking up space, like the importance of taking up space in places where we're often told very, very like to our face the oppression is saying you're not
Yeah.
welcome here. And it's really cool to see people that are saying, actually, fuck that, I'm going to build my own, my own chair, I'm going to build my own table, I'm going to build my own house with my own windows, and I'm going to do what I want to do over here. And I think about this, I'll say this, and then we can go ahead and move on, but I'll say, thinking even about my book, right? And this show, there it's really about, for me, has been and continues to be about reclaiming voice and narrative. And I think even in, like, you talking about you being in sports, right? That's a narrative that you're reclaiming,
Mhm.
right? You're reclaiming this idea that someone who looks like Joho can't do sports. Us having this podcast, and Imma go ahead and drop this too, being honored
Yes,
by the Webby Awards,
yes.
right? Like, that just came out today, right? Seeing that there are people who are seeing us, right? It's reminding us of the importance to continue to keep speaking up and continue to
That's
keep
right.
saying what needs to be said. And even if people don't get on the train and say, "Oh, I support this. I'm here for it. I wanna give it," right? You're still not waiting for white cis men to give you the recipe. And that's what this is all
Okay,
about. So I'm here for it.
okay.
I
As
love
y'all
you.
yes, yes, ma'am, amen. As you can see, we are cooking in these streets, so while we give you time to prepare for our amuse bouche, we're gonna take one quick break, so grab a snack and come on back.
All right, y'all. So now we're gonna go ahead and ask y'all to grab y'all Whataburger, and we're gonna go ahead and start saddling up and get into this good old Cowboy Carter, honey. We
Yes.
didn't. So I want to say this before we jump into kind of the my favorite word. What's the word? Minutia. Before we get into the minutia, the showgirl. We didn't do this for Renaissance. We glanced at Renaissance, we laughed, and then
Mhm.
we really delved into it in terms of like really talking about the like what and when you say logistical, we really dived into it from this very scholarly standpoint. When I listened back to the episode, I was like, this is low key, really scholarly. So we're just gonna have fun with looking at this album because we've had some time to digest it. It's been a week since the album has come out. By the time you've heard it, it'll probably be about a week and a half. And so with that being said, I think it's not a surprise that people are really excited for this album. And I think the reason why so many people are excited by this album is not only just the impact, right? Like, so we saw, by the time you hear it, it'll be a week ago. We saw last night that Beyonce got the Innovator Award, right? So this album is
Yes.
extremely innovative. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to go kind of track by track to really talk about the innovation between this album, what this album says as a juxtaposition to kind of us as black people, as queer people, as fat people, all the folks that are living at the intersections, what it really says to us and what encouragement we can take from it. And then really kind of this idea of us being reintroduced to who Beyonce really is, right? Like, we knew
Mm,
her as a pop girl, we knew her as an R&B girl, but there's always been this kind of Texan girl that's lived there,
yeah.
and you've kind of seen the Texas girl go away at times, and now I feel like she's kind of reemerged. So I think it's really cool for us to get back into that. I will say this, that some of the songs are extremely mellow and a little slow for my liking, especially coming from Renaissance, where most of the album was like at a 180, beat per minute, right? Ours was like 120. It was somewhere in that
It was
it's
yeah,
pretty much everybody could dance
she was
to it,
bouncing,
right?
she was bouncing.
Yeah, she was around that, right? And so you have songs that really speak to her being a mother, a wife. You have Jolene where she's talking about, fighting for her marriage. You have her singing songs like Daughters where she's talking about the fight to be a mother and to protect her children. What's the other one? Protector is another song. And even Yaya,
Mm,
which I will say up front, that song reminds me that Beyonce's not with the shit, but it also reminds me that Beyonce she's just a true she's a Tina Turner fan. Like, that song
mm.
is an ode to Tina Turner. And
Oh,
so with
for
that,
sure, yeah.
yeah, and so just before we forgot how hood and country Giselle was, I really, really want to just get into this idea of that. So, first I'll say Long Gone is commercial. Single Ladies is gone. We have to accept that we're never gonna probably ever see anything like Single Ladies again. But yeah, we're in a new phase where Beyonce has grown up. So where are you at with the album, girl?
So, okay, so many things and so many thoughts. I mean, one facts we're not ever gonna get a single ladies again, I think, and honestly, I'm fine with that. Like,
Yeah.
I was never like, "Ooh, single ladies." Like, people people stand Sasha Fierce. People stand I stand I Am, or more than Sasha Fierce, IMO.
Okay. Okay.
But it's just not my best album. Like, B-Day is an album that I probably could play forever and ever, and like no
And not
skips
get
for
bored.
me.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but even then, like, I've always wrote for Beyonce in some ways, but
Mhm.
like I think when Lemonade dropped, I was like, "Oh, this is like, this is, like, my
Get it.
Beyoncé."
Yeah, I get it.
Um, and
Mhm.
but even then, like, to me, she was already, like, at the peak level that no one could
Uh-huh.
reach. But when
Mhm.
Renaissance dropped, that that to me is, like, one of the best albums that have ever been created in my
See.
eyes.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
for sure. So I'll admit, when I first listened to this album, I was like, "Hmm, okay, solid 7.5 out of 10."
Right, right.
I listened on the couch while I was with my roommate, and I took it in, I felt there were some standouts, but there are some things I think I missed that I picked up when I started listening with my headphones. Now
Yeah,
I've listened to it probably like 10 times for the weekend. I even listened to it today before we did the show, and
same.
I feel like upon this listen, I'm like, "Oh," upon these listens, I've been like, "Oh, I missed some of the lyrical messages, the transitions, and deeper meanings," and now it is a 9 out of 10 for me. Renaissance was a 10 out of 10 and will always be a 10 out of 10. Like, I play it to this
Mhm.
day at least once a week with no skips, but I and I hardly feel as free as I do with Renaissance. Like, Renaissance is like, if any song from that album comes on anywhere, bitch, I am good to
Give
go.
it. Yeah,
If
yeah,
I
I'm
say
gonna turn it. Yes, yes. Go ahead.
if I saw
Mhm.
someone to play Beyonce, I mean Renaissance. I don't mean play Single Ladies, I don't mean play Drunken Love, I mean play Renaissance. Like, when I say, "Hey, can we hear
Yeah.
some Beyonce?" I want to hear Renaissance front to back.
Mhm.
So, I was curious about how Cowboy Carter would feel next to this, but it is incredibly different, and I think part of my, like, initial feeling about it was because I was out of my elephant, LOL, out of my element. Okay? I was out
Sorry, that was funny to me, but go ahead.
that
Yeah.
was so natural, out of my element
Mhm.
at first, because country is not my rodeo, y'all. It's not my
Right,
rodeo.
right. Same,
But
same.
now I'm like, "Woo!" So, let me get into some tracks, okay? Let's talk
Mhm.
about American Requiem. It is one of my favorite songs on this
Okay.
album. And it took me a few listens to understand, because I heard it and I was like, "This is interesting." And now I'm like, "Oh, this is like a eulogy for old America, like the America that has gay cat Beyonce and black folks out of the genre,
Okay,
a
okay.
eulogy for
I get
those who
it.
refuse to change with the time, and
Mhm.
eulogy for those who commit to things staying the same." Like, as she says, "For things to stay the same, they need to change again." I was like, "Oh, girl, the old same here ain't no more." Like, the old same
Mhm.
ain't working for us. So they need to change to a new things. And them big ideas are buried here, girl. She said the big ideas of America are buried here. Okay, I was like, this song, this bitch. I was like, okay, she really came on. She really came on. She came to the kitchen, put that heat on, and she is simmering on this one. She is
Mhm.
simmering, and she got a nice little boil. So I was like,
Mhm.
that song, I'm here for. I feel like, and that kicked me off into, I think, then became a great album. Like, once I understood it more, I was like, oh,
I get it.
oh, she got
Yeah.
things to say now. So yeah, yeah, yeah. How about
And
you? How about you?
yes, and even hearing you talk about it gives me a new perspective because I'll be transparent. I've been struggling trying to figure out what she was trying to say in that song. I
Mm,
got the gist, especially when she's like, "Can y'all hear me?" Like there's a lot of talking on going on in here. I
yeah,
knew that she was alluding to or she was referencing what happened in 2016 to her, right? Like I'm on a
yeah,
stage, I'm performing, and because I'm a black woman performing country, you have a lot to say. Okay, I get that, but I
yeah,
never really it never hit me that the whole concept of American Requiem is her basically saying what you believe to be true about America has changed. You need to get
yeah.
the fuck over it. And I'll say this. I had this in my notes, and I know I'm probably going to catch a lot of crap for it. It sounds a lot like Queen to me, and anyone who knows me very closely knows I hate Queen.
Mm,
I just don't like
mhm.
the sound of the lead. I hate everything about Queen. I don't think their music. I think we give their music more than what it really is, but that's a whole nother conversation for a different day. So I'm pretty sure we probably lost 1 million followers at this point. Um, but that's what I've been contending with that song is
Mm,
hearing a lot of
mhm.
Queen in it and me being like, ugh, but now that you say that, it actually changes it changed my perspective on it too. And I'll say that
Mhm.
I'm warming up to the song. I will give it this. There's something because I know I've been seeing people do this on Reels and on TikToks where people will play Amen into Renaissance, and they're saying that there's something about that last
I can see
sound.
it. See it, but I'm like,
I don't
okay.
everyone's making a big deal about it. So I don't
I don't see it personally, but I'm like, okay, like, I've listened to it, I'm like,
I don't
Really?
get it.
But
Yeah.
work.
But
Like,
but also too, the song before Amen, is that what song is that before Amen? Isn't it Bu
uh,
Honey
Sweet
Buckin'?
Honey Bucket? Yeah, Sweet Honey
Yeah, yeah,
Bucket, Sweet
yeah,
Honey
yeah. So there are moments in that song where you can hear amen in it, and so I don't know what she's alluding to there. And it's the one thing I will say about this album is that she's leaving a lot of clues, and I don't. But I've not gotten
Mm,
to a place where I've listened to the album enough to be able to
mm,
pick up what those clues are. And you've learned that with Beyonce. Beyonce is one of those creators that whatever she does, she's gonna leave a clue. And so everything, like even down to like I was saying on social media, all of the hats and the certain dresses in Renaissance, she was
yeah,
alluding. She was literally since the show has started, she's been
yeah,
alluding to the idea that this cowboy album is coming. So
yeah.
it's kind of like I'm listening to the album and I'm going, okay, what is Beyonce really trying to say? Like, will we go back to Renaissance again? Are we going back to something
Mm,
similar to like techno dancey? Are we gonna get a rock
mm,
album? Like, I don't know. But I'll
mm.
say all of that to say that I think Beyonce has made a lot of sense in this album. What I will say is that I think American Requiem, I probably saying that word wrong, but
No, Requiem is right, yep.
that song into the transition of Blackbird actually makes a lot of sense, especially when you
Mm,
think about her being a black woman, and how both authority and society and everything continues to try black women, and then also knowing the history of that song around, I think it's the 9 young women who basically weren't allowed.
Little Rock 9. Yeah,
Little Rock
Little
9, yeah.
Rock
So
9,
I
yep.
from what I understand, that song was written for that. So it makes a lot of sense to me that Blackbird would come out of that song in the sense
Mm,
of, right, there's been a history where black women, specifically black women who are successful, are gatekept. And that
mm,
also makes me like that's why like listening to this album, I will say this up front, it has been hard because I'm not a country person. I've never really loved country like that, but as I'm listening to the album and I'm seeing it from the lens of a black woman doing country, there's a whole
mhm.
different perspective that's there.
And
So,
that's super real, and I mean, one thing I think is interesting when we get into a bit later is that she has a lot of white features on this album in a way
mm,
that did not expect. I was like, "Interesting."
yeah,
And she has a lot of black features on the album too, but the white features have a bit more prominence. So the one honing into what you said about Queen, like, the song makes me think a lot about Bohemian
Rhapsody.
Rhapsody, which is
Mhm.
for better or for worse, one of the most iconic songs in American history.
Right.
And so, like, to create a song that feels like this to me is actually is kind of a slay because
See.
only typically white folks are the ones who get a song like this and ode to something that's beyond them, right? And like this gets to maybe be like Beyonce's Bohemian Rhapsody because I didn't think like I think Break My Soul is probably one of Beyonce's best songs ever. Like it's just such
Mhm.
a great song, but I wouldn't call like it wouldn't be like her Bohemian Rhapsody. But this song I think honestly could be.
Could
And then
be.
to your point,
Yeah.
the transition to Blackbird, like to your point, a song that is synonymous with the American struggle, especially inspired by the Black struggles of America, which is interesting despite being written by a white man. And Paul
Right.
McCartney himself even said, I think in 2021 or 22, that Blackbird could be synonymous with Black girl, right? So like even like right, so then you're like Black girl singing in the dead of night, like right,
Right,
like
right.
it's just oh, it actually it is different and it changes the power to know that Black woman herself sings this song and having the choir of Black female country artists sing it with her
Right.
too. I
Mhm.
do wish they had their own songs that to with her instead,
Right, right.
but, at the end of the day, what I appreciate is that they're listed as features, right? Which means like that then they're entered into more mainstream things now because
Mhm.
they're entered into the categories in the Grammys
Yeah.
or like other music
Yep.
stuff, and so
Yep.
I appreciate
Mhm.
that, but it's interesting to have them, especially on such a short song. I'm like, you literally give them
2
one
minutes.
lyric, like one lyric each for 30 seconds while you do the rest of the song. I'm like, okay, girl. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, it'll
Okay,
work.
B.
Versus
Yeah.
the white features who have like whole ass songs with her, but they also are people who
Yeah.
have been like in the country game, and so it's interesting as well too. Because like I get, because I will say at first I was like she got a lot of features. I was like people gonna come for the features, but I do understand that there is something to say about having these white features, and again, like we can get into this more later, but I'm just thinking a
Yeah.
lot about those white features. But I'm curious to ask you, what songs do you feel like have the most meaning to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure people are probably going to expect me to go into Protector, into Bodyguard, and all of those songs, right? Because the meanings of those songs are very important, right? You know, you have Protector, where she's basically singing a lullaby to her three children. And
Mhm,
then, you know, you have Bodyguard, where she's also kind of in a way, right? As much as she's saying that she's her bodyguard to her husband or to whoever she loves, right? There's still this moment of like, being a bodyguard to your children and knowing
mhm,
that at the end of the day that you still, you know, you've got to, you basically have to be the, I wouldn't say that she considers herself the breadwinner, but I think there's still an element of her singing in a lot of these songs, this idea of us knowing that she's had to struggle her whole entire life to become who she is and what she's become,
yeah.
right? And so I'm gonna we're gonna talk more about that a little bit later. But what I was gonna say is I think Yaya for me was one of the songs that struck me most because it really gave me the "Why Don't You Love Me" kind of era of
Mm,
Beyonce,
yes,
where
yes,
there's a lot of musicality, and I'm that person. Like, if you ask me anything about music, people know music is my thing. Like, I don't, and I still to this day kick myself because I'm like, girl, why didn't you just get a degree in music because you love music so much?
mm,
I study music a lot. Like, I can listen to a song, and I've said this ever since I was a kid. I can hear instruments in songs that a lot of times people can't clock. I can hear
mm,
timing. I can hear. I know scales, so I know what notes Beyonce is hitting. I can, like, I've literally been that person that has self-taught myself music in a lot of ways. And so when I heard Yaya, I said, "Oh my god, there's so much musicality in this song." It really did remind me of Tina Turner and, you know, the 60s woman in the mushroom wig, right? With the band playing in the back. And it really took me back there. Like, I'm standing in this room seeing black people, you know, shake and move. And as you all, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see me doing the dances, right? I love that era of music because, you know, as much as if we really wanted to even just get into that era of music, right? It wasn't that black people were putting out like black people were being told that they can't be in the spaces with white people in
mhm,
terms of
mhm,
music, right? And so you had white people coming into black spaces studying what black people were doing and then stealing it, right? They would go back and
oof,
cut
mhm,
albums that sounded like Tina Turner or like Little Richard and not giving them credit. And so it's very much for me to hear Beyonce owning so much of her power in that
mm,
song, right? Um she's giving out orders at the top of the song, right? She's telling people when to come in. She's asking how
yeah,
people are doing. Like, there's so much rich and it's not to say that there's no other song on the album that does this, but I'm just saying, like, in that song, by the time you get to that song, there's this buildup of power that Beyonce has reclaimed, right? You hear her come into the album being very kind of, I wouldn't say docile, but being very frustrated. I think that's what I wanted to say on the
mm,
mic. Like, the
mm,
album, you hear her come in frustrated, basically saying, "Y'all can't hear me because y'all talking so loud. Y'all don't want to pay attention to what I'm doing because you can't you keep talking
mm,
over me." But by the time you get to Yaya, she's basically has taken the album back and she said, "Everybody is paying attention to what I'm doing." So I fucking love that song. And what I will say is that Yaya in itself is a concept. Like, it was very much giving me Work It Out too, and it makes me
mm,
sad because I don't know how much you know about that era of Beyonce, but Work It Out was actually supposed to be this whole big thing. Like, it was supposed to be an introduction to like big band Beyonce, big hair,
oh,
very Foxy Brown, Foxy Cleopatra Beyonce. And Music World
oh,
said, nope. They said that is a little too black for us. No, ma'am. And they
mm,
scrapped it. And so that's
mm,
why she went back and she had to recut Dangerously in Love the way that she did because they were basically saying, no, you're not going to do that. So I think that Yaya is probably the one song for me on the album that's like that song. I when I heard it the first time, I said, "Oh, this is that song." And then I'll also say too, I love Riverdance because I can hear Solange
mm.
all up and down it.
Run to the
Yeah,
river,
yeah.
run to the river. Oh my, it's
River,
so,
dance,
so, so true. Ooh,
dance,
okay, so I feel like dance,
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 dance, dance,
dance.
no
Some shit,
hands,
dance, dance.
dance.
Okay, we're gonna get in trouble. We can't sing anymore. I don't want Columbia coming after us talking about copyright infringement. But yeah, so Riverdance does it for me. And I was gonna say 16 Carriages. I cannot listen to that song without just feeling the
Mm,
heaviness of being I don't know how old you were when you started working, but I know I've been working since I was
mm,
13. And so just this
mm.
idea of like now I'm 38 and it's like I've never had a break. I've never been able to say, "Oh, I'm just going to take a year off because I don't want to work anymore." Like I've always had to work. So I get it. That's what that song is. Um also, sorry, but did we know that all four of the other girls was on that song? Why don't we
Wait,
why weren't
which
they
girl?
featured?
Which girls?
All of the Destiny's Child's girls have writing credits on that song.
Wait,
Michelle,
really?
Kelly, Latoya, and Latavia, they all have
They have
writing
writing
credits
credits?
on it.
They have okay. Oh, okay, interesting.
I guess they were supposed to be on the demo.
But are they on the song or they just have writing credits in the song?
I From what I understand, there's a demo out there that has all 5 of their vocals, and for some reason, it didn't make the album.
Interesting. Well, you know what? Someone was saying that, and I was like, I wonder if there is like a maybe deluxe version that we would get that would have that maybe?
Maybe.
I
Okay.
don't
I don't
maybe?
know, but word on the curb is that there is a version, there is a demo version out there with their vocals. That is what I saw.
That's so amazing. Hold on. What? That'd be so okay. Interesting. Okay, because I read about that recently, and I was like, I'm curious of what they'll look like. But it was that, or it was there was another song that had their vocals on too, and I was like, which ones would it be? But maybe there's a demo. Like I know when she did Lemonade, she later dropped the Sorry demo as well too. So there might be she might
Oh,
drop a demo version.
yeah.
I hope
Mhm.
because I would love to hear the voice on it. But that said, though, is that then a hint of DC3
And that
in the
is
future?
also what
Right?
I've been thinking. I'm wondering if this is her saying, "I'm going back to where I started," right? So 16 Carriages, you get kind of the ode of, "This is what my life
Mm,
has been," and this whole cowboy era is, "I'm going back to my roots," because she says that Renaissance
mm,
is a rebirth, is kind of,
yeah.
starting over again. I'm wondering, I would not put it past her that this whole album is a hint to the idea that they're coming back together.
And also, right, remember, like, in her press release for it, she named that this album was supposed to be before Renaissance.
Right.
This supposed to be Act 1, and Act 2 would be Renaissance itself.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it definitely flipped even my thought of it, 'cause I thought it would be like Renaissance Act 2 versus like Renaissance Cowboy Carter and then a third album title. I thought they'd
Mhm.
all be Renaissance because I was, oh, it's a Renaissance of all these different genres. So
Right.
even like changing it on doing things I thought too. So interesting. Okay, so many thoughts within this. Also, I will say 16 Carriages was interesting for me because when it first came out, I was like, what kind of song is this? Like, why is she making this like old sorrow ass song? And I was like, you know what? But this song is country, is country. I give it is country. And
Yeah.
I appreciate like like people have been like, Beyonce has never faced poverty before in her life, and people will critique her for it.
Right.
But and you know, like right when when she did myself, people were like, Beyonce, you never had no 9 to 5. You would never quit your job. Like you
Right,
right. So
right.
those critiques are valid, but I can believe that she's overworked and overwhelmed and underpaid and overwhelmed because when
Yeah,
she's done this her whole life, I imagine when she first started, she was underpaid and overwhelmed, and now she's overworked and overwhelmed. So, this song, I was like, "No, what, girl? Like, I can give her that because I'm like, no, what she is overworked and overwhelmed,
it's
and
a both
I want
and.
her to have
It's
exactly
very much a both and. It's a both
like,
and, like, yes, she can be privileged, but at the same time, she
she
still
also,
works.
and she's Beyonce, like, we
Right.
expect her to work, let's discuss labor here, right? I mean, there's lots about
Mhm.
labor and labor rights and her involvement in non-labor rights of for so many things, but let's discuss labor in the sense of,
Yeah, yeah,
like, we expect her to put in the work, and she puts in
right.
the work, and that probably overworks her too, like, we actually aren't immune to imposing standards on people too as a society,
Correct,
and, like, when Beyonce's
correct.
at her caliber, we also purge that there. So just wanna say that for anyone who was like, Beyonce's unrelatable in some ways. In some ways, yes, in some ways, I'm like, we put a huge pressure on her as a people for to
Right,
perform, and, like, that probably does something to her own health too,
right.
mentally, physically, all the above.
And also, I know we have to take a break, but what I will say is I was even thinking about Michael Jackson. Someone had said that about MJ, like a big part of his stress and a big part of the anxiety and the reason why he was using propofol was because he was so overworked
Mm,
and overstressed. He was so worried that the album that came after Invincible, or yeah, Invincible was the album I think it was called. He was
mm,
so stressed out about that album doing well, and then also kind of like, can, will this is it be where will this be big for me? There are all of these stressors he had. And so, I think, even, I know we always talk about circling back and having these conversations, right? Like the pressure, when you sit back and you look at someone like Beyonce, who is constantly leveling up themselves, like literally they level up on themselves. Like there is
mhm.
nobody.
True.
She literally beats herself every single time, and it's a very interesting thing to watch, because she comes across so humble, and she's like, "Yeah, I just put out music and I really want to create, and I want to encourage everyone else to create and work from the." But then you watch the Renaissance movie and you see her child telling her, "You need rest," right? Like, you
Yeah,
need to rest because you are stressing about something that is so silly in the moment.
yeah.
It tells you what type of work caliber Beyonce has. And, am in no way saying that I'm anywhere near Beyonce, but this is something that I've had to like work through with my therapist a lot. I think as black people, as queer people, as black and queer people, there is this there's this unspoken rule that we will always have to work harder than everyone else just to get
Absolutely.
in the door. And so I think that that's something Beyonce has not been able to let go. And I really do, like I've always said, I do believe that, I think that this is going to be it. I think we're going to get act 2, we'll get act 3, and we'll probably never get another album from her. And I think that's okay. I think that's
That
totally okay. Mhm.
she deserves to rest and relax
Mhm.
herself and to retire herself. She's given us bodies of work to work with and to analyze that have been used for scholarly work. Like I think it's fine. I know we got cut, but I'll just say some best songs I like so far. Protect Her for sure. Instant
Amen.
Tears, like, it's just such I also the way she begins it, like, that run of, "There I was wrapped up in marigolds," just that run
Mhm.
is so soulful, that actual line is church and poetry, and I was like, "Girl,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a line," and then, just such a beautiful song. I love people have thoughts about Jolene. People have thoughts about Jolene being what one of my friends who will be a guest on our show soon made a comment of like, y'all, I love Jolene and Beyonce, but like if she got to fight for a man like this, mamas, don't take him
Right.
back, just leave him.
Well,
I
facts
was like,
facts
oh,
are
you know what,
facts.
facts are facts.
Facts are
Facts are facts.
facts.
But I'll give her this. I love that she made Jolene Beyonce Jolene because
Yeah.
Beyonce would never be begging for her man back or begging Jolene to not take her man. She would be saying, I'm a Banshee Creole bitch from Louisiana. Don't fuck with me,
Right.
girl. So I'm
Jolene,
here
so the original Jolene is a plea, right? She's pleading,
exactly. This
"Please
is a
don't take
warning.
my man."
She
Whereas
said, "Heed
Beyonce
my
is a
words.
warning. Yes, it is very
Heed
much a
my words."
warning.
So live for it.
Mhm.
Spaghetti. I love spaghetti. People like that
It's
little
cute.
short song, that little beat, the boom, boom, boom. Also, like it also made cute because she begins like she says, "Snapping my fingers on Thanos." I was like, "Oh, she's a Marvel girly." My
Yeah.
this is watches the Avengers. Okay, yes, like that is just such a good song. Country, country, petty, petty, petty. Like I just love that shit. Just for
Mm,
fun with
not her
Willie
playing
Jones.
Sport, not her playing Storm, but go off.
So,
I'm sorry.
stop,
Yeah.
stop. Listen,
Mhm.
I'd watch. I don't
I'd
love
watch
Ratchet
it
sometimes,
too.
but I'd watch. I'd watch.
Mhm.
Just for fun and beautiful song. Two Most Wanted, honestly, a banger. I will play that shit at any friend's
That's the one
birthday.
with
Like,
Miley Cyrus, right?
yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
I
that's
have thoughts
cute,
about
that's
it later,
cute.
but see when Levi's jeans with Post Malone. I don't know why Post Malone's on this album, but that song is
I
so
have
cute. Every
thoughts
single
about
song,
that. We'll get into it
both
after the
singing
break,
at
but
duet.
yeah, I have thoughts about
Tyrant
that.
Tyrant is cute, and I love that Dolly is actually on the song singing with her too. Like
Mhm.
to me, like that song is it's very like Florence and the Machine. It's very folky,
Yeah.
beginning,
Yeah.
and then it goes into into like a trap beat, and I was like, okay, the song is a bop. I love Tyrant. So
Mhm.
those are probably the ones I just really like. I really rock with. I mean, I rock the whole thing, but those songs I rock with a lot right now.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? And you're not wrong. Like those songs are. I mean, all of the songs are standout. They all have their
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
something about them, but those songs are definitely standouts. So, with that being said, we haven't really been able to get to all of it, and I knew we wouldn't be able to get all of it in this episode, but we said we are going to devote the whole episode to the album. So, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Cowboy Carter, and then we're also going to offer some thoughts about some of the different folks who are featured on the album, and all of that when we get back from this break. We'll be back in a sec.
Well, howdy fam, we are back and let's get into these here collaborations in this bitch. So I feel like,
What in the
and as I said
nope is
before,
going on? Sorry.
in my cowboy bag, let me get
Yes.
me a little pluck of wheat to put between my teeth and be like,
Put a
anyways,
little
okay,
head
so
on.
this, so I will say, I feel like, and I said before, this is the most features I feel like Beyonce's ever had on an album. Like, there's a lot of features on
Mhm.
this album. Renaissance
That's a
had
really
some
good point.
features, but no one like in Renaissance, right? Like no one like sang a song with her. In Lemonade, no one sang a song with her.
No, they
The last
didn't.
big features was really in self-titled. I don't think any album since then have really had a lot of features. So there's a lot of features
She only
on
had
this
one on self-titled, right? The one with Drake. I think Drake is the
Drake,
only.
Drake, Drake, Frank
Oh,
Ocean,
Frank
Jay-Z.
Ocean.
And even that was like, that's a lot for her. So
Right.
it was atypical for her to have this many features, and I was like, interesting. And I think people critique who she has collaborators on this album, and I felt some type of
Yeah.
way at first too, but I will say, like, I feel like I get it now. Like,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
understand. So again, Post Malone, I don't understand. I was like, why him? I get so, and I am blessed. Shout out to my friend Philip, who I think listens to the show. We were talking about Cowboy Carter over the weekend. He's a big country girl. He loves country.
Yeah.
He loves getting into it, and so he was saying that like folks like Pardon and Willie Nelson are part of the outlaw country, and so
Yeah.
outlaw country is a genre of country that like a subgenre focuses on like going against the conservatism of country, and so having like Willie
Mm.
Nelson
Mm.
like be the radio DJ for the album, right? Is like one giving him honor and his credit to the work that he's done as an outlaw country person, but also giving B a stamp of approval from like these big country figures who
Yeah,
are
that
known
makes
to
a
be
lot of sense.
against like who are known to be
Mhm.
against the grain, right? Same with Dolly Parton. And so I think that made sense. Molly, at first I was like, why Molly on here? But now I think I get why
I get
Molly,
it.
because
I get
I
it.
mean, she is kind of like the princess of country music, right? Like
Yeah.
her family's country royalty. She's the daughter of Dolly Parton. So I was like, I gets it. I gets it. So some I get, again, obviously having the the three other black women or four black women that are in country themselves too on Blackbird. I wish
Mhm.
they had more. I wish they had whole songs themselves, not just the features,
Right.
but like love that for
Right.
them too. So yeah, so that's just my high thoughts. What are your thoughts on the features? Did
Yeah,
any not make
so
sense for you? Anything you wish was different or different people on it?
no, so when I learned that, Beyonce basically said that she wanted this album to feel like an old country western, I was like, "Okay, I get the features." Like, I get Willie Nelson, I get, Dolly Parton, like, it's very much giving, like, and that's the thing, it's like, in my head, as I hear it as I'm listening to the album, I get elements of Nope, but then I also get elements of, like, um the Wild Wild West. Like, I get all of these elements of, like, I
Mm,
I can see. That's the thing too, because 'cause I'm such a very visual person, like, in my mind, I can hear a song and I can see, I can literally can see the video, right, for each of the songs as I'm listening to them, and
yeah,
so I get it. Like, I
agree.
genuinely get why she has the features that she has, even down to the introduction, right? And I will say this, I love that Willie Nelson, like, in his intro into Texas Hold'em, he basically says, you're listening to country radio, and he's like, if you can be in it, you can get down, have a good time, and if you don't, go find something else to do.
Go
Like, that's literally what he
jukebox.
says, right? Yeah,
Yep,
he's like,
go
go find
jukebox.
another jukebox, right? Like, you don't have to listen
Work.
to Beyonce, and I think that's kind of what my point is with this album, right? Like, it's with anything Beyonce does. Like, Beyonce gets so critiqued by so many people for the stuff that she does, and I'm just going like, I don't. There are a lot of artists that I don't really vibe with, and the thing
Yeah,
for me is like, I y'all know I don't like Taylor Swift, so I'm never gonna go out there and buy her album. I don't spend any time talking about how much I don't like her stuff. I just don't like Taylor Swift, and that's okay. Like, you cannot like Beyonce and you don't have to listen. So I love that Willie Nelson like kind of hit that on the head. He's like, there are other people you can go listen to if you don't like this album or if you
Mm,
don't like this music. Um, I know that you had asked, who do I wish that I would have seen a collab of? I still wish that she had a collab with her sister. I would love to see her do something
mm.
with Solange. I think
Same.
even having Solange on like Riverdance would have been so awesome to me. Like having Solange sing the
Mm.
background vocals on
She
Riverdance.
would have been great on the melodies of it, she would've been great
Mhm.
for sure,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I would have
agree.
loved that because even with A Seat at the Table, when that dropped, I was like, "Why is there no Beyoncé feature? Like, why?" And maybe, and maybe some people are just very particular about their craft and their arts, and maybe, Beyoncé is like, I maybe her and her sister, maybe they don't work well together, and so there's always that, but I genuinely could can see that. To your point about Post Malone, I don't know if you wanted to ask that, but I was gonna say, like, yeah, I know you have thoughts about Post
I mean
Malone, so
I
I'll let
mean,
you go.
just why? Like, why? Like, I love the song. The song is great. I love his voice
Right.
honestly sounds fantastic on it. I would sing this in a duet with any person. Like, the song is a beautiful song. I would play this for my man. Like, but why
Yeah.
Post Malone? Like, I don't personally don't understand, like, because he's not country. He's alt music, alt rock, whatever.
Yeah.
Unless it's a hint to rock, then I'm like, "Okay, is it gonna be rock in the
Right,
future?"
right. Could be,
But
could be.
like, that seemed very mu like, he's not from Nashville, I don't believe, so
No.
that was just like a what like,
Why? It was a
anybody
big
else, like,
why. Yeah.
it could've been Orville Peck, like, I love Orville Peck, right, and, like, that is a
Right.
queer country star, right? If
Mhm.
it would be a white man, it could be Orville Peck, but it wasn't,
Right.
so
Yeah.
why Post Malone?
Well, so one of the things and one of my justification is so often, kids will like songs by an artist and they will, the coolest thing a parent could ever do is be like, like a Beyonce, right? Beyonce is Beyonce.
Mm,
So I'm sure Beyonce is Beyonce. Beyonce is not Beyonce to
to Blue
Blue
or to
Ivy, right?
kids, yeah.
It or to her other two kids, right?
So her
She's
mom was
just
like,
mom.
"Get Post Malone on the phone," and Beyonce was like, "Sure,
Right.
sure,
Yeah.
baby."
Yeah, she's so basically that's what I think might have happened, right? Maybe her and Blue were
Interesting.
talking and Blue liked the song and initially was like, you're not cool until you can get Post Malone on one of your songs, right? And I think that that may have been, I mean, and this is just me talking out of my ass. I don't know if that's the truth, but I'm just saying, like, if you really even think about how she hopped on the remix to Mahente, right? In the song, she shouts out Blue. Like during
Yeah.
one of her runs in the song, she says, "Blue, are you with me?" And so it's this kind of thing of like how cool it is because Blue loved that
Oh.
song, and so that
How
for her to hop on the remix, it kind of it reshifts the way your children think about you as a parent,
never
right?
think about that at
Yeah.
all. Oh my
So
god,
I
wow.
think that that's the thing that probably happened. It's like Beyonce's Beyonce to Blue, and it's like a eye roll. But Post Malone is now on a song with her mom, and it changes the perspective of how cool her
Mm,
mom is now. You know,
she liked
so
work. Okay, interesting.
mhm.
Interesting, I see, interesting. Hmm.
Yeah. So, as we kind of wrap up Segi 2.5, I wanted to ask you, as we're kind of wrapping up all of our thoughts on this album, and I know we could talk for hours if we wanted to go like track by track and talk about it. We don't really have the space or the time to do that, but I would love to do that. What do you think this album is predicting? Like, what do you? I mean, if you just had to take a wild guess, as into like what Act Three, what we might. I mean, because
So
at this point, Beyonce has done everything. So, what else could she do?
yeah. Well, so people are saying it could be rock and, like, a
Okay.
fully rock album, which to your point, like, would go into the Tina Turner of it all. I strive to not spend that much time thinking about it because what I just like, to me, it's just, like, people put in so much effort and work, I'm like, "Girl, it's not that deep," but also, like, part of me is like, "It's not a deal," part of me is like, she does give clues, so I guess I see it. Um, so I'm like, "Okay, just why?" I would say I would believe
Just why?
I believe The Rock, I would believe that because she has done rock before. I think you made a point before where, like, and she has performed "You Wanna Know" by Alanis Morissette several
Yeah.
times at her shows. She like "Don't Hurt Yourself" with was it Jack what's his name? Who Jack
Jack's
was it White? Jack it
Jack
wasn't
White.
Jack White.
Yes, it's Jack White.
Okay,
It's
okay,
Jack
Jack
White.
White, okay, Jack White, thank you. And so, like, I gets it.
Right.
I would want it to be a DC3 album and maybe with Solange, like, as well, like, it'd be fun if it was, like, a family album, like, that'd be dope. I mean, she's already done the Carters, she's already done, um, she's done features in that way, but I think it'd be cool to do that.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't know, like, I also am just like, to me, it's better to not even think about it because people were predicting this big country, and I was like, I'm just be gooped and gagged whenever it happens because that's the power that I want to have over me. So I think I won't give predictions because I want to be surprised and want to just like dive into it. If it was rock, I would be like, huh. I would just
Mhm.
be like, huh. Um, I don't know how I'd feel. Like country to me made sense still the other day because she's a country girl now. Like she has never not said she's not. Like, she's never not said she's not a girl from Texas. Like she
Right,
has
right.
always said I'm a country girl. So country makes sense to me, or like Cowboy Carter makes sense to me. Not because not just it's
Yeah.
not just a country album, but I'd be like rock unless she said it's Tina Turner who she has said has been her biggest inspiration before.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I get it if
That's only
it's
like
that.
the real justification you can
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
can relate I can like
Mhm.
that I can, like, rock with personally, but
Mhm.
that's just me. How about you?
I see what you did there with the rock. Yes, yes, smart. Clever girl. You're a clever
I'm one
girl.
clever girl.
Yes,
The
you're a
shitty ones
clever
can't fuck with me.
girl. Yes, cause those pettyhoes can't fuck with me. I love her for that.
I just have to say, Yaya is like it is to me a song that is unlike anything else she's done, like in this album, except for like the era of like Why Don't You Love Me. It is
Yeah.
just such a fun like this is something you would hear at a rodeo in the six. Like this is something you would hear
Mhm.
someone doing. Like
Mhm.
I imagine her on that cute little vintage mic. Like that song eats everything up, and I live for it
Mhm.
truly. Okay, y'all, we have given y'all enough of this rodeo to work with, so we gonna take one last break and get to our Yes Man No Man Pams in just a moment.
All right, y'all. So we are going to get into your favorite segment, which is yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, Pam, and obviously staying in the trajectory of what we've been talking
Okay.
about. We're going to stay in the lane of Cowboy Carter.
Yeehaw.
My yes, ma'am is right. Oh, yeehaw! Like I said, if I wasn't afraid to ride a horse, I would be up on one taking lessons, but they scare me. But my yes, ma'am, this week is really just the intentionality of the album. I think for me the biggest thing that I take away from this album is that it's not only is it not only how badass this show is, but it's really this idea that Beyonce's like, I'm not gonna make a statement, I'm just gonna put out an album. Right? Like
Mhm.
she literally could have said in 2017, 2018, what happened to me at the CMT Country Music Awards was really fucked up. I felt like it was racist, but she never talked about it. She never did.
Yeah.
She just said, okay, I'll sit on it, I'll create around it, and then I'll just put it out. And
Yes.
so, I think for me, it's a testimony to this idea of even like, and I'll say this, right? Like, y'all know I love Beyonce, and I do my best to try to not make to ever put us in the same category because I know that she is leaps and bounds further than what I'll ever be. But I think it's like a testimony to the concept of like formation, right? Your greatest revenge is your paper. And I think it's
Mm.
really cool for some people to say, you know what? Even for black, fat, queer people, a lot of us have been told we're never going to amount to anything. I have a lot of family, a lot of friends, ex friends in the past who said, that my dreams and my aspirations would never happen. And now I'm on an award winning podcast, right? So I
Okay.
right, like we can say that now, right? Our
Period.
podcast is award winning, or we've been nominated or whatever, not award nominated podcast, because this is two for us, right? We're two for
Mhm.
two.
Okay.
And so all of that to say, like it makes me feel good to see that, what I take from this album is that you don't have sometimes you just don't have to respond. Just let
Yeah.
you being you, let you and your success be the response, right? Because there are a lot of people asking how they gonna get on this podcast. And I just look at them and I just bat my eyes like you were one of the people who said I'd never amount to anything. It'll never happen, right?
Oh.
So kind of just letting that be like let your actions speak for themselves. You don't necessarily have to
Mm.
respond. And for my No Man Pam this week, I think for me it is the people who continue to say that they don't support Beyonce because she won't say or do anything political. I personally, and again, maybe one day we can really get into this, but I personally am in the mind that I don't want my celebrities to have like their hand and their voice in politics. Like I don't
Mm,
need my artists to be political. I feel like
mm,
Beyonce being a black woman who is subverting country music and subverting pop music and rap and all of these genres. Like she's literally going in and she's fucking up everything that the industry
mm,
thinks it knows about itself. Like that for me is enough of a political statement, right? Like I don't necessarily always need my artist to go out with a picket sign and say,
mm.
I don't need my artist to be activist. I think that's what it is. I think her art is activism. My point is listen to it or don't. At the end of the day, she's still doing what she believes to be true for herself, and that's
Mm.
enough for me. So,
Ooh, I totally feel that. I totally feel that because I think I feel that, and I've been working through that myself because there's someone who wrote a someone who wrote like a Substack article about Beyonce in this
stink
way.
piece. Mhm, a stink piece?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I mean, I think no one's above critique, so I was like, "Okay, work." But I do think there's some notes to say I think there's some notes
Okay, work.
okay, work, like, I think there's some notes to
Yeah.
say about why do we expect and rely on folks whose only lane has been this thing to go beyond that? I mean, there are folks
Right.
who do, right? Like, there are folks like Kehlani, there are there are folks, like, who are, as I would say, like, artivists who make music and also make art with
Angelica
you,
Ross.
right? Like,
Yeah.
there are folks, like, who do that,
Uh-huh.
and, like,
Yeah.
and there are folks who, like, their whole gig has been making music. I mean, I think where Beyonce, I think her misstep may have been that she, like, well, not even misstep. I think people mistook her points about Black Lives Matter work, Black Lives Matter movement. I think they took her points and made her more, like, more than that, right? Like, she cannot,
Okay. I get it.
like my critique for people is that, is that was crucial to her and her work as as a black woman. And it's not saying that that anything else isn't important to her as well too, but like
Right.
we can't take that and then be like, well, she has to be everything else for us too. Like, I just cannot rely on celebrity to be my savior,
Right.
my
Celebrity's
salvation.
not gonna
Like,
free us.
that just can't be it. Like, at the end of the
It's
day,
not.
like,
Yeah.
I live, laugh, love her. At the end of the day, like, she's a capitalist person living in a capitalist system with capitalist money,
Amen.
right? Like,
Right.
nobody with that much money is going to do the things I want them to do. And if they do in the world, I would be happy to eat my words. But until then, they're not going to. That's just not their gig, and I wish it could be their gig for sure. I wish it could be their gig. I wish they could do more. I wish they could. I wish they girl, start if she starts a foundation, I would happily run that foundation and use her money to fund these programs and work, right? Like, that's what I would love to do.
Right.
But like that just isn't
Right.
what she's doing currently. So I think, so I actually
Mhm.
felt like that about many people, like about many like mega millionaires, because I'm just like, why would I ever want to count on, like, if you're a mega millionaire,
Mm-mm.
you
No.
inherently
Right.
don't even like can rock with what I want to do for
You'll never understand my story. You'll never
right?
under I mean,
Like,
and you might, but money changes the way
like, the
people.
only person who I think has a grip on it is like is Issa Rae, right? So she's somebody
Mhm.
who has like built her own come up, and now she is like making her own empire. But like she even mentions right in her article, there's a point in which she no longer she can't do the same things she could do before she became like Issa Rae. Now she has to do things in a different way. So like
Mhm.
the pathway
Mhm.
forward looks different for her, right? But she's the only people that I'm like, this is someone who can put the money where their mouth is, and she
Their
is.
mouth is
It
yeah.
has to be, but
Mhm.
it's through her own way that works for her, not through the way that everyone wants her to do.
And if I might add, I would also say that I feel like both Lemonade and Cowboy Carter are
Oh,
political
inherently,
albums
they are.
because of
Yeah,
the years that they were released, right? We had Lemonade released right before the 2016 election, and we have Cowboy Carter being released right before our 2024 election,
you're
right?
not wrong. You're not wrong.
So it's not lost on
And
me.
let's yeah.
Wh
No, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's not lost on me why she probably even did flip it.
And let's
I could
talk
see why
how
she
cowboys are seen as the most conservative people, and this is
Uh-huh.
a like Cowboy Carter, right? Like a black cowboy and a black woman cowboy.
Cowboy, right.
Come on,
Yeah.
come on, right? And not saying cowgirl, cowboy, Cowboy Carter, right? Like,
Mhm,
she is
mhm.
saying, like, I'm with the dudes. I
Yeah.
am a cowboy. As she said, what as she said in what song was it? Was it Top Off? Like, I'm the only lady here still listening in the room. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
as
She's
she still saying it. So,
yeah.
I'm just IJS girl, IJS. Anyways, okay. My Yes Ma'ams, My Yes Ma'ams, and no, My Yes Ma'am is also, of course, the album because I think at the least is an album that will make anybody think. Like, that is amazing, right? Like, I'm thinking with this album
Mhm.
for sure. Like, even
Yeah.
like, I didn't love it at first, right? Renaissance came out the gates, I was like, "I love this album." This, like, I'm like, "Did I love this album?" But it's making me think, and I think everyone who's listening to this album is thinking about
Right.
what this means for her, right? Because, like, even Renaissance made sense. It was like, "Oh, this makes sense for the next iteration of, like, Beyoncé." And this is like, "Skirt, skirt." Not just
Yeah.
iterations and different so she says fucking era, I'm in all of them right now. And so
Right.
really it's just a fantastic piece of work that will make us think for many years to come, I personally believe. My no man Pam is to the planet of Mercury because she is retrograding and she has already affected me. She has already affected
Mm.
me in multiple ways this week and today, and I'm just tired of her. Why? I have not felt Mercury retrograde so hard before, but god damn, I'm feeling today. So that bitch Mercury is fucking me up. Her and her little rings need to stop. I'm done.
You said, "God damn, I've never felt it this way before." Yeah, there was a moment today where I woke up and I had to say, "Oh, that's why you feel it. That's why you're moving the way you're moving is because of the Mercuries."
Girl,
Yeah, mama came in here April 1st and she said, "First things first, I'm the realest."
realist, okay?
She
God
Mama
damn.
had not 1 minute to breathe before she came in and said, "Imma
Mhm.
fuck all this shit up, and now y'all got to clean it up." She gonna knock all the stuff off the table
Beyonce
and
said
tell
she
us to
gonna drop
clean
the
it up.
album before Mercury retrograde hit. She said, I know what's good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do this when
I
Mercury."
know what's good for me and for y'all. I'm gonna drop this album on the 29th so that way I don't get hit by it. I know that's right. Well, with that being said, we would love to hear your thoughts on Cowboy Carter and everything else Black Fat Femme related. Please send your thoughts, your feedback, and your emails to blackfatfempod@gmail.com. You can also send us your thoughts via social media by interacting with our post on Instagram and Twitter by using the handle Black Fat Femme Pod. We also want to shout out everyone who's over in the YouTube streets. I know a lot of the girls leave comments and are watching us over there. So thank you so much for engaging our content over there. We really, truly appreciate and love you. Queen Joho, where can the dolls find you?
Like I said last week, y'all, you can find me at Joe Daniels across all socials. If not there, you can still find me at my nearest rodeo. Getting my two-step and line dance on the Cowboy Carter because now it is out and I am getting all up around these here parts. He and Han and floating my boat and all and everything all the folks say in the country because that's what I want. To and I truly I don't say it to mock, I say it because I am just giving the respect it deserves because God hot dandy doggies, this shit is everything. And I will say it's even like my dad lives in the country, and I was like, why is man lives in the country? And
Right.
now I'm like, no, I'm getting some respect for supporting artists, and now I know that there's a lot of black country artists out there, so I'll be listening to them all week. So that's where you'll find me in the
Yeah.
country clouds.
Yeah, I want to shout out before I get into the kind of wrapping up the show. I do want to shout out Claude and Chuck Harmony. They're out of Tennessee, so they're part of Lewis York. That's the name of their band,
Mm.
and they have been working with K Michelle on her country album, and she
Ooh,
has a
mhm,
single that's out called Tennessee. And it is, if you have not listened to it, it is one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best iterations of pop country. And I will say this, like for me growing up, Shania Twain's Up album was like my favorite. It still is. I
mm,
know all of the words to that album. It is still one of the best albums in my repertoire of music.
mm,
But yes, I definitely just wanted to shout out Lewis York for being so open to working with black artists
mm,
who really want to do country music. And I pray that for K Michelle or anyone that they're working with, that they get the opportunities that Beyonce has been able to do in the industry. So
mm.
shout out to them. Anyway, with that being said, you can find me at Dr. John Paul on all the socials. You can also visit my website at www.drjohnpaul.com. And you can also find me counting down the days until I am done with having to teach My God. I will say this. I love my students. They are fantastic. The class has been fun. The class is very informative. I'm teaching basically it's a teaching the teachers course where I'm teaching
Mm,
them about research. It's just it feels like it has been so hard for me as a professor to pay attention in my own life to like properly like do this class the way I want to do it. So I'm just very happy to just be able to like after this class, I think I'm going to take a hiatus from teaching so that way I can refine my love for it because this class has definitely taken a lot out of me.
mm.
But anyway, all that to be said, yes, shout out to all of the professors, the instructors, the teachers, the K through 12s, anybody who's doing any type of teaching right now. It has definitely been harder for some reason, and yeah, hats off to you. I'm tipping my fake cowboy hat to you for all of that. We'd like to thank our producer, Bay Wang, for the handling of all the logistics of the show. We also want to thank our supervising producers, Rebecca Ramos and Anna Hosnia,
Ooh.
for the support that they give us because, my Lord, don't we all need a little bit? We all need someone to lean on. Someone to lean on. Yes, so I'm very thankful for all of them and all of the help that they give us. Shout out to again the Webbies for recognizing us as honorees, and thank you for everybody who continues to support the show. We see it. We speak your name. We uplift you. We thank you. We are so grateful for that. We lastly want to thank our wonderful editor, engineer, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Chris Rogers, because without them,
There be
there
no
be no
show.
show, honey. Yes, yes. And go down to the YouTubes and give them some love because they do the damn thing. Every time I
Hey,
see the clip, I just
every
get so
time.
excited because
Won't he
Chris
do it every time?
is
Every time.
so talented. Oh my God. Our editor is so talented. But anyway, all that to be said, this has been another show. Thank you everybody for listening. Stay black, fat, femme, and fabulous. And remember to stop fellowshipping with the fake ones.
Okay,
Y'all
amen.
love us for real.
Bye.
Bye.